So lately, I feel like there's been a lot of talk about year one raids coming back, more than usual. A lot of people have been saying like, oh, year one raids are going to come back in the April update for the spring update and blah blah blah, and I'm skeptical. First off, I sometimes get the question, why hasn't Bungie brought forward the old raid exotics, Necrochasm and Vex Mythoclast? The answer is likely because the only way to get those items is from the old raids. The way that things are set up now, all items that can be upgraded to light level 400 more or less come from current level activities. I know King's Fall is not a current light activity and the Dreadnought's not exactly current light activity, but the gear from it can be upgraded. Vault of Glass and Crota's End do not have items that can be upgraded, so people would be running Vault of Glass and Crota solely for a chance at the raid exotic and nothing else. I don't think I'm explaining this as well as I would like to, but hopefully you get what I mean. Both exotics are only obtainable in content where all other items in said content were abandoned in year one. Maybe that was a little bit better. I'm skeptical of year one raids coming back in something like the spring April update. Here are some reasons why. Number one, elemental primary weapons. Raid weapons were really good on their own, but stack some elemental properties on them and they were just the best options. Burns were more effective back then too, and Bungie has said that they don't want elemental primary weapons back in the game. So, do I think that Bungie would bring back elemental primary weapons? No. Could they just make different versions of the weapons? Absolutely. Would no elemental properties on those primary weapons make people angry? Probably some people. Number two, they would have to fix the raids. Now, Vault of Glass is pretty fine in this category. It isn't nearly as buggy as it used to be. Vault of Glass used to be horribly broken, pushing bosses off of ledges, the relic just not working unless you team wiped, broken teleports. You name something and it was probably broken at some point. Crota's End, on the other hand, has some issues. Unfortunately, a lot of those issues are issues with design and not necessarily bugs in the raid. Those are a lot harder to fix, you can't just level scale that up. Do I think Bungie would be willing to fix those issues? Probably not. Bungie would basically have to say, screw it, for them to put back Crota's End into the game because it is horribly exploitable, or at least it was, even when it was the main endgame content. I don't think Bungie is going to say screw it, because they at least tried to put out non-buggy, well-designed content, and knowing that Crota's End is a design mess and exploitable would mean that they would have to go back and fix it up, or just release it as is, screw it, which I feel could go either way. It could go either way because we're winding down Destiny 1 as we eventually move to whatever is next, and I could see, screw it, just give it back to them, who cares. But I can also see, no, it's a design mess and exploitable and we don't have time to fix it or the resources, so it's not coming back. Also, as I hear from people quite often, raid content is some of the least played content in the game. So, why would Bungie spend so much time remastering two pieces of content that barely saw any play compared to the rest of the game? I don't know. Finally, number three, bringing up the old raids is not the thing that is going to save Destiny. I keep seeing this sentiment here and there that bringing up old raids is all of a sudden going to fix all the problems that Destiny has, and I don't think that'll be the case. If they don't bump up the light cap, the majority of people are simply not going to care about the raids getting bumped up to 400 light. Why? Because there is no incentive. And there needs to be incentive, because guess what? You can go play Vault of Glass and Crota's End right now if you want to, but nobody does because there's no loot behind it. Now, I'm sure that being able to deck yourself out in Vault of Glass gear again is appealing for some people. For a lot of people, it's not. It might bring players back for, a week or two for some nostalgia, but as soon as that wears off, I think people are just going to leave again. New stuff is what really brings people back. Now, if they bumped the light level up across all activities, then that would be a little more incentivizing since we'd be back to grinding for higher light items, and hopefully that wouldn't take only a week or two to do. One reason why I think they would come back is because Rise of Iron is the year of fan service. There probably isn't going to be any sort of considerable expansion-like content update for the rest of Destiny 1. Bringing back old raids, whether they fix any issues with them or not, is pure fan service and would make some people happy. But if that's all they did, if they only brought back raids in something like the April update, I think you'd have a lot more people complaining than rejoicing. If they brought them back as a surprise and not part of any other significant update, then I think you would have much less complaining. It's sort of like what happened with SRL last year. It was revealed at a big convention where people were expecting a significant expansion-like content update, and we didn't get that, and a lot of people were upset. If they just kind of throw it out there in like March, just like a little, oh hey, by the way, in patch 2.6. Whatever, old raids are coming back, then, well, I mean, there's probably still going to be complaining, but probably not as much. Some people think that because the boss of the Nexus Strike has the Templar mechanics as the boss mechanics, that this might signal a return of Vault of Glass. I would say that is certainly plausible, but I think it's equally plausible that they were just pulling from Vault of Glass for fun, since they were good mechanics, sort of Easter egg style. However, historically speaking, a lot of these live events have featured old content being revised to current light. As of right now, basically every strike in the game is now current light level. The Nexus was one of the final things that needed to be brought up. So Bungie is basically out of old stuff to bring up, except for the old raids. So there is still a glimmer of hope. This is not me saying that I don't want the old raids to come back, because I do. It would be awesome to go back to something like Crota's End and be able to do fun challenges again, or to at least have the option to do them just to change things up every once in a while. I just think that the odds are low that old raids are going to come back. Happy New Year, by the way. I'll see you next time.